Hi, welcome back. This is Coach Parker. Today is another episode in my youth football coaching clinic that I did for KYA football here in Keller, Texas, my home youth football league that I coach at. Today we're going to be going over special teams, and special teams definitely is an area in the three phases of football: offense, defense, and special teams that youth football coaches can really excel in and win some football games. And that's mainly because a lot of rookie and not so good coaches really blow off special teams, and you can really steal, as Coach Dave Caesar says here on this slide, you can steal some wins from some of the best football teams through your special teams play. And I do it and have seen it done to us. And if you really get your special teams going, you can definitely win some games that you might not have. And definitely help yourself in other games by getting a bunch of onside kicks or punts or that sort of thing. So let's get right into it. Youth special teams, let's go over kickoffs. I prefer, and I know a lot of folks prefer, onside kicks. Those are the most popular in youth football. And the reason for that is a lot of us don't have a lot of time in practice. I've only got 2 days a week. That's the KYA rule to practice. You don't have a lot of time to go over special teams. And to develop a long kick special teams group that's good at it takes a lot of time, especially if you don't have very fast players, because a fast returner, an open field is very, very dangerous. So we do not hardly kick deep kicks at all unless we're ahead and we're practicing. And unless you practice on long kicks and know what you're doing, I would probably just continue to do onside kicks. I know when we, kind of do our long kicks, it seems like, to be honest with you, that the running back will either score or get back to where the point, which is about the 40 or 50, where we would have onside kicked anyway. So it's not like we saved anything. We actually increased our risk by kicking long. So I definitely prefer onside kick, because the deep kicks really allow for a good running back to get out in the open field, and that becomes really dangerous, and majority of times they will score. And when we onside kick, I usually do directional kicks to the sidelines. And what we try to aim for, there's usually numbers going up and down the fields outside, near the sidelines, and you've got hashes and then the numbers. We actually try to hit the number 4, which is the 40-yard line, or the number 3, which is the 30-yard line, and they're marked on the field, and we try to get the kids to kick to that. I'll usually go stand over on the sidelines in that area and raise my hand so they know that they're going where they're going to kick, because we, majority of time, will kick toward our sidelines, because a lot of times coaches can't see that far over there anyway, and usually their last man on the sideline is not far enough to the sideline, so it actually leaves our gunner, who's going to go after the ball, an open spot to go grab the ball really quick. So we usually kick toward a sideline, and we usually kick toward our sideline majority of times. Now we have a call, we have Larry, Roger, which are left and right, or L and R, whatever you want to call them. And we have a Mike call for middle. So our two gunners, basically, there'll be one kicker, 4 guys on both sides of the kicker, and then we have 2 gunners that go either right, left, or in the middle. And those guys are going toward the ball. They don't have a lane or whatever. And that's usually how we're doing our kicks like that, especially for onside. On our directional kicks, we usually try to find a minimum play player or a big lineman kind of dude that doesn't have hands. And we don't want to kick it directly to a player, so they can just easily pick it up. We want if when we kick it, we want somebody moving. They have to kind of move a little bit, and that's really what we're looking for. So we want to kick to an open spot, and near a minimum play player or a big lineman that we think that has no hands. And we usually scout the special teams just like any other phase of the football, and we'll know what they do. As far as your kicker, I like to try to find a soccer player that's on the team to try out for kicker, and those guys usually can kick the ball directionally pretty well. My son had played select soccer. He could kick it 10.2 yards and have it stop and roll around, that kind of thing. If you've got one of those kids, that's great because you get a lot of onside kicks. We were averaging one onside kick a game one season, and while he was kicking, we averaged like one every other game, and that's a big deal. So try to find a soccer player. That'll probably be your best bet for a good kicker, because they know how to directionally kick and put balls, and they kind of know put the balls where they want to go, and they kind of know the how hard they should kick for it to go a certain distance. The other thing that we do, and we like our kickers to practice 20 reps before practice, and they kick, either right or left directionally 10 to 15 yards, just like they'd be kicking at the numbers. And we try to get them kicking. That really, really helps their kind of depth of where they're kicking and direction where they're kicking, so they don't just get up there and muff the kick, because that's not good either. So definitely practice your kicks. Practice your kickoff team, your onside kick team. Really work on that. Who's got the lanes, how your gunners are going to work. There's a ton of information out there about kickoff. There's also a lot of information on my website at coachparker.org. And here in a few weeks, I'll also post kind of what we're doing as far as kickoff and kick and onside kicks. We'll have a further lengthier discussion on how my kickoff team works. So stay tuned for that. So that's on kickoff. So as you can see, I'm big on onside kicks, and I think Jack Reed or Dave Caesar or Gregory or one of the other youth football authors said that they went to one of the national things for Pop Warner, and that 95% of all the kickoffs are onside kicks. So a lot of the better coaches, just because of we don't have a lot of time, we're going to do that. So be prepared for that on kick return, and that's where we step into right now. Kick return team. I read a couple of books on special teams, and one of the things that came out of that is try to get your hands group and speed group on kickoff. If you've got linemen that don't have quick feet, or you're trying to hide minimum play players here that kind of rookies, that's probably not going to be the best place, especially because a coach like me is going to try to find those players and kick to them so we can get an onside kick. So be careful on your kick return team. Make sure it's a hands group, that they're good with their hands, and don't hide your minimum play players on that kick return team unless you want to turn the ball over. On kick return, we do a trap blocking return where we number each player on the kickoff, and we assign that player to the kick return team to block, and they know who they're supposed to block. And we have 3 trap zones, right, left, and middle, that we try to trap at, and then we run up either left or right or middle, depending on who gets the ball in the second or third line. So you can definitely set that up. If you don't want to trap, I definitely say you should assign players to block. Just number. You can number players from each sidelines. You can number players from your sideline. You can number players out from the kicker. I don't care how you probably do that, but assign numbers to those guys, and then make sure that your kick return people are assigned a number of a player to block, and that way you get people blocking. Because I found out when we don't assign our kick return players a number. We just say get the fastest guy coming down your lane. They don't tend to block anybody. But if they have a number of a player, third from the outside, they know, okay, I got that dude, I'm going to go block that guy. So that's a good tip there. The other thing we do is I definitely watch film and find out how they kick, where they kick, and what they like to do on their kicks. And you may get some teams that like to kick deep, especially in the wind. So you need to know, do they always onside? But when they have the wind and it's gusting, they'll kick long because they've got a kid that can kick the ball long. So kind of look at those things and adjust accordingly. We do set up, our base kick return team is definitely is an onside kick kind of return. And then we do have a long kick return team where we can back out, one guy from the first line to the second line, and another guy from the second line backs out to the first line, and it's real quick to do it that way. And like I said, I'll have a further episode on the actual kickoff, kick return teams with slides and where people go here in the next month or two, and we can talk in more detail about that. So kick return, most of the times we set up for an onside kick pretty much every time. And I, have scouted them and know, and then I'll usually have my best running back move in the field based on how they're placing the ball, so I can get him really over where the ball's going to go. And the team can kind of tell. A lot of youth kickers will turn the ball or tee sideways, and so you're pretty good with that once you learn through scouting what they're doing there. So that's about it on kick return. Make sure you practice, handling the ball in practice. We have a drill where we, throw the balls really hard at the players on the ground, and we kind of set up teams, and whoever can get the ball without muffing it, and points go for the team that missed the ball, and whoever has the most point loses for that team. So that works out pretty good too. If you set up that drill, you'll see who the good hand people are. We get about 10 yards back. We roll the ball really hard at the player, and he's got to get the kind of quasi kick throw cleanly. Otherwise, he loses a point there. And the kids love that game. So let's go into punt. So punting, we don't like to punt. I know I read the article, I guess it's been 10 years now, about one of the coaches. I think he's in the South somewhere that doesn't ever punt. He's a high school coach, and I read the article in American Football Monthly, and he doesn't punt, and so I moved into that too. We hardly ever punt really unless it's within our 10-yard line, or maybe we're practicing a punt for the Super Bowl or playoffs. To me, the punt is probably the most dangerous play in football. There's so many variables that can go wrong with a punt, and the snap, the actual kick, their coverage, open field tackles. It's pretty bad. So unless you have a great snapper and a great punter, which you may be that 1% of the teams that's got those things, then you may want to punt. But I prefer not to punt because I think my percentages are better to actually try to get a first down. We tend to fake punt more. We'll go into a punt formation and we'll fake and run a pass or run a sweep or a reverse out of it. So, and that usually works out for us pretty good. When we do decide to punt, I like to do a rugby style punt, which is like a half sweep, and then we punt it on the ground toward the sideline out of bounds. We directional punt toward the sidelines. I never want to punt the ball to the middle of the field. I was a kind of a second string punter in high school, and our coach was big on, don't kick the ball down the middle of the field. We wanted to kick the ball to a sideline and then out. So I'm in that style too, and that's the reason I like the rugby style punt. So there's a ton of information on rugby style punts or some information, maybe not a ton, but I had heard about the rugby style punt from a local high school that was here that was doing it, and looked it up on YouTube. So you could probably find some stuff on rugby style punting for American football here. Because, if the ball does hit the cornerback as he's sweeping out before he crosses the line, then, we can get the ball back. So that's the thing on punting. I hardly ever punt. We try to go to first downs. I think I've punted, maybe 6 times in the last 10 years, and half of those were for practice, just to see if we could punt going into a playoff game and Super Bowl run. Punt return, we're kind of the same philosophy with the punt here. We don't want anybody touching the ball. So, because we've had so many punts muffed and we basically give the ball back, we basically will do a Raider kind of blitz where everybody blitzes the ball to try to block the punt. So that's our number one thing. Only if we know and we've scouted a team that they have a good punter, where we back somebody up, let it bounce, and then once it's kind of stopped doing its thing, they'll pick it up and run with it. So we hardly ever try to have somebody just pick that thing up on the fly and go. It's just a lot of variables there for that little young punt returner to learn how to do that. And we mostly don't practice that in practice. We just don't have time to do that. So, we really, like I said, if we're going to make the return, we'll put our best hands guy back there, and, he's only going to get that thing if it kind of drops right into his hands or kind of rolls around right in front of him. So, that's what we do there. And we will drop another kid back there if there is a good punter to help them kind of block and have the other kid kind of get the ball there. But that's pretty much on the punt return. We basically do a punt block, Raider blitz, and try to block the punt. And that's worked out for us. I mean, for a long time, so we continue to do that. PAT and kicks and field goals. Right now in KYA, there's just not, with 2 practices, there's not a lot of time to do that. I haven't had a kicker since I was in Denver back in 2007 and 8. So we don't even try or practice having a PAT kick or a field goal. I know there's been a couple of guys here in KYA that have tried it. I don't think anybody's made it in a while. But if you've got a really good kicker and they want to focus on that outside of practice probably, and they can get that down, and you've got a snapper that can snap it to the holder, you might want to try that. But I think that's probably taken away from practice time that you may need to focus on offense, since we don't have that extra day in practice, the third or the fourth practice time to practice special teams. So we don't focus on that in KYA. You as a select coach may want to practice on that, especially if you've got a kicker. And I usually run, if I do run the kick, we'll run a normal PAT kick. And then we also have a fake tight end pop pass out of that with my holder. I usually have a quarterback that's a holder, and we usually will call a fake field goal or a fake PAT quite a bit with the holder that'll just grab it and then go and throw a pop pass to my fullback who's a tight end, and he runs kind of a fade pop pass out to the side. And then we'll kick about half the times if I even do that. So that's the deal on special teams. Just a reminder again, I try to I've got 2 days of practice, which is about 4 hours. I try to get in 30 minutes of special teams every week, and then about 10 minutes before the game to line everybody up. So I got about 40 minutes a week to get in my kickoff and kick return. And you can see why punt and punt return, there's just not much time there. We do that much because excuse me, we're really focused on kind of our onside kick and our kickoffs there. So don't blow off special teams, especially kickoff and kick return. And also practice on your punt return that nobody touches the ball if they're back there, because they usually drop that. If you can get that down, you'll probably be pretty good. Like I said, in the next month or two, I'll do some more on some detailed special teams videos, and we can go through that then. But thanks for joining me. Again, this is Coach Parker with CoachParker.org. Please visit my website. And remember to play for fun, and winning is funner. Thanks for joining us. Please leave a comment or like the video below.